We're talking with South Carolina Director of Insurance, Ray Farmer, Director of the Department of Insurance. And I can't think of a better time to talk with you about being storm ready because we could get an impact from Hurricane Irma in South Carolina. So good morning, Director. What are your thoughts on that?
Good morning, Lauren, and thank you for taking the time to discuss preparations for in any hurricane. But you're exactly right. Irma is a big reminder right now that it is time for us to take a few moments while we have it and plan and prepare and protect our families and our property. So the Department of Insurance has developed a program using those 3 P's: plan, prepare, and protect. And so briefly what that is, Laura, is, go ahead and make an emergency plan with your family, engage your family so everyone knows what to do, when to do it, where to meet, and when to leave town if you're evacuated. And go ahead and develop your emergency kit. Plan to be out of the house for 3 to 5 days maybe, but take those items in the kit that makes sense. Take, water, non-perishable food, certainly your medicines, flashlights, cell phones, and the batteries and chargers that go with those items. Know your evacuation zone. The Department of Transportation and the South Carolina Emergency Management Division have gone to great lengths to prepare zones, and they have a program, an educational program called Know Your Zone. You can access that information, find out what zone you may live in on those 2 websites, the DOT website or the scemd.org. So I would encourage everyone to know exactly your evacuation route and where to go. And in the event of an evacuation order, we learned under Hurricane Matthew last year, and the people in Texas and Louisiana learned under Harvey, go ahead and evacuate. That's not the time to be a hero or have a hurricane party. Go ahead and evacuate, and so you'll certainly protect your family in that regard. And when you leave, take a few other things with you. Take your policy information. All you'll need is your policy number. The insurance companies will certainly be able to locate the relevant information. But now is also the time to prepare a home inventory. We've learned over the last 5 or 6 years that when a catastrophe happens to someone's home, whether it's was Hurricane Matthew or the flood or maybe a devastating fire or something of that nature, after an event like that, it's stressful enough, and so it's awful difficult, if not impossible, to kind of remember what is in every room of your house, every closet, every cabinet. So we have an app or access to an app on our website at doi.sc.gov that our citizens can go to and download, and it helps you make the home inventory. You list everything, you take pictures, you save receipts. I understand you may not have receipts of something you bought several years ago, but make it a practice from this point forward if you buy appliances or furniture, any big purchases, just to keep those receipts handy. So those are a few things, Laura, that everyone can be aware of and do without a whole lot of trouble.
Director Ray Farmer with the South Carolina Department of Insurance, and we're talking about plan, prepare, and protect, and specifically about Hurricane Irma, which could affect us. And you mentioned the app. My insurance company has an app called Digital Locker, and I did that last year. I inventoried my whole house by using this app and taking pictures, and I loved that. It was much better than taking out a notebook and writing things down.
That's exactly right, and we've done that at our house as well.
Yeah. Well, when it comes to, you mentioned Hurricane Matthew, Director Farmer. When it comes to how Hurricane Matthew affected us, which was pretty big for the storm that it was, how many claims were filed, and how has the process been in getting them taken care of?
Well, bear in mind, Hurricane Matthew was a Category 1 hurricane when it got to us. We have, and now I'll talk about insured losses. It does not account for what the state has had to spend for infrastructure, roads, and so forth. But for insured losses, there were around 122,000 claims filed. And if you combine what the insurance companies are going to pay out for Hurricane Matthew plus the NFIP program pays out for flood damage, Hurricane Matthew is going to be close to $1 billion storm when everything is paid for. I think the last numbers I've seen, probably in excess of 95 to 96% of the claims have been paid and settled. But here we're almost a year later. And so these events take a long time to recover from. So the more we can do on the mitigation side and the claims process side to take the stress level down several notches, that's exactly what we need to be doing.
My sister is a DNR officer in South Carolina, Director Farmer, and so she let me know about something that happened after Matthew when floodwaters or river levels had gotten so high and where certain ones met. The town of Nichols, a small town, ended up getting flooded out. And she recently told me that, and she'd sent me pictures, she said that they're not rebuilding.
Yeah, Nichols is just a tragic story. I mean, the entire town was underwater. I observed it just a few days after Matthew, and it was that's just a horrible example of what a disaster like Matthew could cause. But I will tell you that I've been in this position not quite 5 years, and every spring, the governor's office, the governor herself or himself now, has conducted a tabletop exercise for every affected state agency to be prepared in these natural disaster events. For the flood in 2015, for Hurricane Matthew, we had the 2017 exercise in May. And so it's good to see that when something like this occurs, the state is ready. We may not be able to prevent such a disaster, but we are ready to recover as soon as the disaster happens. And if we have some effect from Irma, that will be no exception.
We're talking with Director Ray Farmer with the South Carolina Department of Insurance about plan, prepare, and protect, being storm ready. And something else you had mentioned, Director Farmer, was having your insurance policies with you. And I know that because we have it, flood insurance is different from your regular house insurance.
It is indeed.
So when it comes to those papers and filing the claims after a storm, how do you go about doing that? Well,
you'll contact your insurance company right away. Contact your insurance agent. They will be expecting your call, trust me. And then they will handle it from there. If you contact your agent and you have flood damage and flood coverage as well as wind damage, they'll be able to get you in contact with the right folks. But after an event like the flood or Hurricane Matthew, the Department of Insurance is out in the community. That is our time to shine. We are in the community. We did over 25 community-related events after the flood and Hurricane Matthew. If necessary, we'll certainly be out again helping our citizens. We'll have a call center ready to go as soon as it's needed, where we'll answer any question related to insurance that anyone has. We'll have that call center staffed, and we'll have a backup to that as well. Insurance companies are prepared. We'll have them gather in central locations if necessary, as we did in 2015 and 16. But our insurance consumers, our citizens, just need to know that the Department of Insurance is here to help answer any questions and direct you to whatever company you need help with.
I was very impressed with both Georgia and South Carolina in the availability of representatives from insurance companies and FEMA after the storm. And another question for you, something we learned after Matthew, Director Farmer, and we learned about it in Georgia, and I don't know if it's the case in South Carolina, is that there was a little-known thing put into insurance policies called the named storm deductible. So a lot of folks thought they were going to pay maybe $1,000 for their damage, and the named storm deductible raised that to maybe $6,000 depending on the cost of the damage. Does that exist in South Carolina policies as well?
It does indeed. Along the coast, insurance companies will have a windstorm deductible or a named storm deductible, and we learned in Matthew that we need to know as citizens what our policy covers and what it does not. And now is the perfect time to sit down with your company, your insurance agent, and understand what it does cover. But for wind damage as a result of a named storm, your deductible could be higher than your normal homeowner's deductible.
And something else people need to know is they can't call the insurance company today and get coverage for Irma. It's a 30-day wait, right? Even for flood?
It is indeed. It's same thing on flood coverage. So, hurricane season started in June. It goes through November. And you and your colleagues at your station were kind enough to help us with our Home Safety Expo in early June over at the Home Depot in Bluffton to get the word out that folks need to be prepared for hurricane season. And reviewing your policy is just as important as planning on your evacuation route or your emergency kit.
Thank you so much, Director Farmer. Is there anything that we didn't cover that you would like to cover?
We pretty well covered everything, but I would like to remind everyone that our website at doi.sc.gov, we have a web page for storm preparedness in the event we have some damage from Irma. We'll have every bit of information that consumers and insurance companies will need on that website, and how to get in touch with us or your insurance company. So please make a note of that website, doi.sc.gov, and that should provide all the necessary information.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Director Ray Farmer with the South Carolina Department of Insurance.
Thank you, Laura.
You have a good day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thanks.